Grand Rising, everybody. How you doing? This is your Coach Renz, and welcome to Deconstructing Christianity with Coach Renz. As tonight we will talk about hell. We're going to discuss the whole idea of hell, where it comes from, some of the history behind it, theories behind it, how it has grown and changed, and what its purpose is in today's world. But we're talking about hell. So we're going to give about 5 minutes for people to get on. I'd like to give people a little bit of time to get onto the show. Going through a couple of checks to make sure everything is copacetic here as we get ready to talk about hell in all its glory. Yeah, just making sure all the feeds are acting correctly. They appear to be so. So we're having a good day today. Hope everybody's having a good day today. I'm having a fantastic day. We keep on growing, keep on going with everything that we do here. I can't see if anybody's saying anything right now because I'm checking a few things and sharing the video. I'm sharing the video, so I hope you guys are sharing the video as we get ready to get started. Now there's a couple of people on. Hey, Teresa, Trauma. It's only because I saw that on Facebook. That's so I know if Facebook is working properly. Good, good, good. All right, that should be all of our shares. Doing pretty well, Dorian. How you doing, Tim? Yep, going to talk about Gehenna. Put a couple of notes up on the board just to remind me of the pathway that I want to go on this. All right, we are all, everything's set up. Hell is a very interesting concept. And so hopefully we'll, as we discuss it, some people will become free of the fear of hell and realize that all this religious stuff centering around hell is merely a control mechanism. That's the plan. That's the thought process. We're going to get beyond the control mechanisms of hell tonight, as it has been used to keep people captive towards this religion. For my cigar smokers who are on here, you finally caught me, SG. All right, every night. So not every night. So we go live every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to catch the show, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we go live. We do allow people to come on to the show and have discussions about it. My rendition over this information up here is probably only going to take about 10, 15 minutes. So when we get started here at the 5-minute mark, that's when I go over it. For my cigar smokers, my connoisseurs, we are smoking the Alex Bradley Magic Toast, and of course, served up with some good Peruvian coffee. So for my fellow cigar smokers, that's what we got. Just like they celebrate the Super Bowl with some cigars, I celebrate every day with cigars. Celebrating life. All right, go. Oh, I thought I turned this on. Hold on. My bad. thought I turned that on, but I guess I didn't turn that on. Got to get the ventilation system going. One other part of the ventilation system, then we get started. All right. Okay. All right. You thought that was USG? Nah, that was me. No, I forgot to turn my little vent system on. If you're gonna have cigars inside your house, you gotta have ventilation systems going, air purifiers, and all that good stuff. It's too cold out there right now for me to be outside smoking. All right. So I want to welcome everybody to this discussion that we're going to have about hell. The main purpose of this discussion is for those of us who have deconstructed, for us to further get away from the emotional connection that we have towards this idea that upon death, you will enter into hell. If anything that maintains and keeps people embedded into these religions, it is the idea and fear that they will go to hell for however they live their life and for what they believed and what they did not wind up believing in, whatever God they believe. So when we talk about this idea of hell, from the biblical standpoint that most of us grew up in, you have the ideas of, okay, this is opposite, of Sheol, Gehenna, and Tartarus, right? So those are the three primary words that are used throughout the Bible, whether you're looking at it from the Old Aramaic words, the ancient Hebrew, Proto-Hebrew, to the Greek Septuagint, into the Koine Greek. Well, the Septuagint was written in Koine Greek, into the Roman Latin, and so on and so forth. We get these ideas. But in order for us to understand how to break away from the emotional connection to hell, we have to intellectually understand where in the hell did hell come from. Okay, so we're going to start out thinking about the people who were in the Mesopotamian, Levantan area, and how they would have conceptualized life after death. So when we first begin this story, we have to first begin the idea of the conceptions that we now have of hell start actually around 25,000 BCE. Around 25,000 BCE, you had the Assyrians, the Akkadians, and you had this ancient form of a deity that was over hell. Hell originally was a deity. Even when we talk about Tartarus, when we get to Tartarus with the Greeks, Tartarus was still a deity first. And so many Assyriologists are theorizing that Sheol actually comes from Shuala. And Shuala was an Assyrian deity and pretty much an Anunnaki deity that was in charge of the underworld, much like you have for originally Anubis in the Kemetic was in charge of the underworld, and then it became Asar became in charge of the underworld. Originally, what many people know from Greek mythology, Hades was a deity, a brother of Zeus, who was in charge of the underworld. But before Hades was a deity in charge of the underworld, there was the primordial, one of the primordial gods, Titans. Tartarus was one of the primordial gods who was named Tartarus. And he is the father of, in some stories, he's the father of Gia. So for everybody who knows the stories of Gia or who've heard of the word Gia, because you may see the channel Gia, Tartarus originally was the father of Gia. So many Assyriologists thinks that Sheol comes from Shuala, which would have been picked up during the captivities under the Assyrians during around the 800 to 700 BCE time frame. So we must remember these people who wrote the book that we now call the Bible were originally being conquered by the Assyrians. And Before the Assyrians, they were simply just Canaanite people. So when we have Sheol from the Old Testament, what Sheol is became a representation of in that first temple period was that everyone went to Sheol. It just meant grave. They may have, when they were not Israelites yet, thought about it as Shuala, who was this god over the underworld. And in that underworld, many gods and humans and all alike all went to Sheol as a place. And we'll find a similar thing when we talk about Tartarus right there. But this is so opposite for me. But Shuala was that deity. But then as we got into the first temple time frame, second temple time, or in the first temple time frame, actually, second temple, it stopped being based on the god Shawala and just becomes Sheol in the second temple. And it becomes a place that everyone goes to, this the grave. Everyone goes to the grave. Through that first few hundred years, there was originally no separation. Everybody just went there. It's just you were dead. You were dead. But then after years of being conquered by the Assyrians, and then conquered by the Babylonians, and conquered by the Persians, in that time frame between 500 BCE to 700 CE, being conquered by the Greeks and the Romans and everybody else. Previously with Sheol, you went to the grave because the Hebrew people in the 700s and 800s just were always looking, thinking that redemption would come in their lifetime. It wouldn't happen in your lifetime. But after being conquered for hundreds of years, the philosophy began to change during this second temple period, from 500 BCE to 770 CE. You start seeing a difference, a change in it. And because they were under the rulership of the Babylonians, mainly during that time frame, the Babylonians had a place called Aralu, right? Or Aralu. Aralu was a place that had separation. Aralu in Babylonians, you had a place where the good people went, the righteous, and you had a place where the wicked people went. So you started to see an adaptation in the wording and the writing of Sheol based on the concepts of Aralu from the Babylonians. And so from that time frame, after that time frame, you start to see where ancestry worship was part of it, because with the Babylonian Aralu, how you were buried determined what your life was like. Well, let me go back. In Aralu, there was no separation of the good and the bad. You just went to the underworld. The quality of your life was determined by the quality of your life, and this is on the Babylonians. We're going to get to Zoroastrians as that being the Persians, but the quality of your life was simply based on what your family came and provided for you at your grave. You know how we have some of these people, I'm going to pour some out for you. That idea of pouring libations, because in Aralu, you ate dust. You ate rocks and dirt, unless you had family members who would come and pour libations and bring food to your gravesite. And that's what they were looking for, and that's what they learned from the Babylonians about Aralu. So it is theorized, for the most part, that the Hebrew people picked that up from the Babylonians, and this is why some of the ancient graves during that time frames, you will see that there were placements for food and drink on the graves, and how a person was buried also made a difference, right? So if a person was buried appropriately or well, then they had a better afterlife. They had a better existence in Sheol or Aralu. Now, as they began to get under, and so before I go there, and so that began their thought process that they would be united with their ancestors in this afterlife. And so it was very important that you had multiple children, a lot of children who would always remember you, kind of like what was it's the little movie Coco, kind of like the movie Coco, how they do with the Day of the Dead. You wanted to have ancestors who remembered you, who would still pour libations on your grave. So you had a bunch of children to make sure that they continued to take care of your grave, because they expected you to be united with your ancestors and for them to be provided substance as well, so that the family structure of this life after death, it was more kind of like in being in the field of reeds in the Egyptians, where you lived a similar life, but it was dependent upon your ancestors pouring you libations and things of that nature. So all the way from God. So when you pour out a little something, something for those who have passed on, you're taking on a little Babylonian on that one. Now, in the latter half of this, or closer to 70 CE, 100 CE, when it was under the rulership of the Greeks, they began to make changes to the ideas of Sheol. Sheol started becoming this place that had a separation in it, because they had been going through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of simply being conquered and not being redeemed, and not being free, and seeing their conquerors live their lives, do whatever they do, enjoy themselves. The ideas of Sheol started to change. And as these ideas of Sheol started to change, what you started to see was this separation of punishment for the wicked and a righteous place for the sort of a heaven for the righteous. This is probably where, and I say probably because I couldn't find any definitive information on it, but this is probably where the idea of being in Abraham's bosom comes into play, where they're in Sheol and there's Abraham's bosom over here, and then there's this place of Abaddon over there. And so when Jesus talks about the rich man and the poor man going into Sheol, and one man is in Abraham's bosom, the other man, Lazarus, I think is the other guy who goes into Abraham's bosom, while the rich man goes into Abaddon, and there's a gulf between them, and Abraham is like, I can't give you a drop of water. You know, Lazarus can't give you a drop of water to quench your tongue, is because Jesus grew up with this idea of Sheol and having the two separate places by the time we get to first century. So they started changing it, because being under all this captivity had to be they started making a change. And one of the things that helped them to lead to this change was in and around 534, when they were under Persian rule. And under that Persian rule, they learned about the duality of Ahura Mazda and Akhra from the Zoroastrians, from the Persians. So once the Persians became their leaders, their rulers in around 534, over that time frame afterwards, the duality starts to come in, the changing, the reshaping of Sheol starts to happen, and you start to have a blessed place for those who suffered and but remained righteous, and those who were wicked. So prior to that, Sheol was just a place everybody went. And then how your family treated you after death determined the quality of your life. After we get through the Babylonian captivity, the duality starts kicking in, and now there's Abraham's bosom, and then there's Abaddon. But throughout that time frame, from that 500 to 70 CE, another idea starts to come into play. And that is the place of Guyana. Now, Guyana was simply a trash heap. So one of the things that I found interesting when I went to Israel in both times is that you can go to Gehenna. And of course, there's the joke. Once you leave, you went to hell and back, right? So when you go to Guyana, let me see if I'm over. You go to Guyana, and Guyana is simply a trash heap. It was a place known where the people would dump their trash. Now, there's no archaeological evidence that trash was ever burned there, and there was a constant burning of trash. But there is the literature that suggests that this was a place where trash was burned. This was a place where beggars and people who was begging and the indigent went to go, and just as people do today, dig out of trash cans. This was a place that they went to, this trash heap on the southwest side of Jerusalem, and or the southwest side of many towns. And but in that trash heap, what we do see is some of the older Testament writings where they start talking about how, and this is where the idea that it was burning constantly, that in Jeremiah 7:31 and other places in Jeremiah as well, it talks about how the kings of Judah, Azar and Manasseh, were practicing worship, the Moloch sacrifice, which is the sacrificing of children to their deity. Now, later redaction changes it to where it's talking about Baal, but there were also worshipers of Yahweh who were practicing the Moloch. And if you watch the video I produced about 4 hours ago, about 3 hours ago, 4 hours ago, I talked about the child sacrifice that was going on in ancient Israel before they finally stopped doing it. But in Jeremiah, you see it talks about the kings of Judah who were practicing this Moloch in the Gehenna, in this place called Gehenna. Now, originally the name was Tolbet. It's something starts with a T. I can't remember right now. But the name also meant Gehenna. And Gehenna was a place that was in many cities. So it was a common practice to have this trash heap. Like the dump, yes. It was like a dump. Now, and I'm going through this pretty fast because I want to get to be able to answer questions and have conversation. After a while, Gehenna starts to be merged with the ideas of Sheol, and it becomes a place of atonement, right? And that atonement starts affecting the ideas of Sheol. And you either went there to atone for your sins, or you atone for a little while and then you might be released. So they had teachings where you were punished for 12 months. I mean, you're punished for a year if you died and you was believed to go to Gehenna and you had to suffer. It has never been known of this place of gnashing of teeth and all those sorts of things. That is something that later writers in the Middle Ages started to add to the story and add to the ideas. But then atonement for 12 months, but then your soul would be released on the Sabbath. And an angel, I forgot the name of the angel, but they had one particular angel that would escort you around during that 1 day cycle, and then you go back into your punishment. And then after you walked around for as a ghost or a zombie for a day, you go back to your punishment. And then after the 12 months, there was two things that might have happened. Either you were destroyed forever, or you remain there forever. So it either became an eternal, some believe that it was an eternal punishment, while others thought that you was only there for a temporary time, and then you get to be redeemed back to this God. And then this idea of Sheol started to change again within Judaism, where even people who went into Sheol was only there for a certain amount of time to pay for their sin. And then after they finished paying for their sin, they then got to go and live in Abraham's bosom, or get to go dwell with God. And all of these are going to mix in over the years. They all are going to mix in. So you had that situation going on with them having to be redeemed, Sheol becoming the place of redemption. But one of the people who would not be redeemed were the kings or the people who practiced the Moloch. Those people were believed to be destroyed. And they have had stories where they talked about that in some of the midrashes, about how some people who committed certain criminal acts against this God would not find any redemption. So in today's modern ideas of Sheol in Judaism, you may go there, but you're only there for a little while. And if you are found to be redeemed, you get to go and be with heaven, be with God and the angels. But if not, you are destroyed, completely non-existence. So they don't have the same type of hell, but in Christianity, this thing continues to develop, and Guyana is developing uh, right and around the time frame that the Persians into the Hellenistic time frame, and then the Hasmoneans, and then the Romans is when this idea of Guyana is being developed. Oh, brilliant. So no, there's no purgatory, none of those kinds of things. That's a later Catholic creation that has since the Catholics have said that that's not non-existence as well. Now, from there, because in around 300 BCE, they become these people who were conquered by the Persians, now get conquered by the Greeks. And so when they were conquered by the Greeks, of course, the process of Hellenization is adding and comparing what they believe to what you believe and then mixing it together. So when the Greeks come around, now the Greeks want to harmonize their ideas of Hades. Well, yeah, I'm gonna do this right. Their ideas of Hades, which they call Tartarus being the worst place of Hades, with the ideas of Gehenna and the ideas of Sheol. And this is what Christian writers would do after the Romans take over, and as Christianity begins to grow, they have to figure out a way to harmonize all of this so that it seems as if this God is teaching and saying the exact same thing. But when we get to Tartarus, what we're looking at is a god, a titan named Tartarus, who then his name divulges to be a place, right? And then as Tartarus, the god Hades, takes over the whole concept, and Tartarus simply becomes a place, and then Hades, as that god, originally gods were the main ones who would go into Tartarus at first. Now, how do you harmonize that? Well, you harmonize it with the writings of Enoch. The writings of Enoch was well accepted by the Jewish community as well as the Christian community. It becomes accepted by the Christian community until around the 4th century BCE. But in Enoch, it talks about how the angel Uriel stands guard and is in charge of Tartarus, and the Watchers, who were the ones who we call the fallen angels, were chained in Tartarus. And so it is reflected in 2 Peter 2:4 and Jude 1:6 and 7, where it talks about how the angels were chained in Tartarus, in Hades. And this coincides with the Greek thought about gods being condemned to Tartarus. But as the stories of the Greeks become more, they penetrate the Levantian people, they penetrate the Hebrew people even more and more, they also start to see stories where kings and regular people are sent to Tartarus. So there's this king, this is the one that I found the most interesting because it has connections with some of the other thought process here, is that King Tantalus, that's the way his story goes. King Tantalus was invited to a dinner with the gods, with Zeus and all of them. Upon going to this dinner, he sacrificed his son. And his son, I think his son was named like Pelopus, but he sacrifices his son. And after he sacrifices his son, he cooks up his son and serves his son as a meal to the gods and to himself and anybody else who's there. While the gods are eating on this meal, he goes and steals ambrosia. Ambrosia was this nectar of the gods. It is the elixir of life in alchemy. It is supposed to give you immortality and give you youth. So he tries to steal the ambrosia, but because of he was caught and it was found out that he sacrificed his son and fed his sons to the gods, he is then sentenced to Tartarus. So, with that idea of a human being able to be sentenced to Tartarus, and there are many Greek stories thereafter where it talks about different humans who get sentenced to Tartarus, but who and they get sentenced there for murdering family members, killing widows. Um, One guy goes there because he kills his wife. So there becomes all these different human stories of going into Tartarus. And so now we have gods who can go to Tartarus, equal to angels and watchers who can go there. So we can get our Lucifer story, we can get our fallen angels who are in Hades, in hell, or thrown into this lake of fire. And then we got a king who goes there. So now we can see how people were going to Abaddon as the Sheol developed into two separate places. And we see this place becoming this fiery place that was thought of in Gehenna. And so all of these things begin to be harmonized in Christianity so that it encompasses every aspect of it. And as it grows, it starts to become this idea of if you live for this God, do right by this God, do what this God tells you, you get to go to heaven. That if you don't, you start to go to hell. See, in the Greeks, there were different levels of hell. So not every place was a place of fire, but Tartarus was the worst place. So that's the one that was focused on by the Christian writers. And most of this harmonization, most of it happened in the Middle Ages. Prior to the Middle Ages, Christians were still thinking of going to Abraham's bosom or going to Abaddon, and that these places were temporary. Even Abaddon was temporary, or Sheol was temporary. And I didn't research it, didn't even bother because I don't really care. But I know since the Islamic teachings picks up from the Judaism and Christianity, maybe the idea of, and if there's somebody who knows more about Islam on here than I do, they can let me know if I'm barking up the right tree. But maybe their idea of when you go to Muslim hell, you're only there for a certain amount of time until you serve proper penance for not worshiping Allah properly, and then you get to go and be with Allah. Maybe that's where they get their idea of that, since these places were temporary, that there was no eternal punishment. But when Christians got their hands on it, Tartarus becomes this eternal punishment. Even for the Greeks, Tartarus wasn't an eternal punishment. Even though Apollo was threatened to go there, he didn't go. And Apollo threatened Hermes that he was going to send him there. He didn't go. But there were other gods and people who just went to Tartarus temporarily as a form of punishment for one act, but then they got to be relieved of that. Just like in the ancient Sumerian and Assyrian stories, where Dumuzi spends a certain amount of time in Arulu, and then he's returned to his wife. Who is his wife? Inanna. So he's returned to his wife. The same thing we got with the story of Hades and Persephone. Persephone spends only 6 months in the year in Hades, and the other 6 months she's here on Earth with her mother Gaia, and that's why we have spring, right? So this story begins to mature, and they get to cultivate all of it together until they finally come to that crescendo of this is a great weapon of fear. And as a weapon of fear, preachers and priests begin to see how the teachings of hell, eternal punishment, unforgiveness, it's a good scare tactic to get people to stay in line with their teachings. That, yeah, the priest may be a bad person, but I don't want to speak against the priest because I don't want to go to hell. So all of this matures up until we get our modern day version of hell. But the Bible itself does not support the idea of an eternal damnation, of a place where you go and you live for all eternity. You don't really get that too much until you get to the book of Revelations. But even in the book of Revelations, the word used there is Tartarus. And since Tartarus in the Greek was not a permanent place for the most part, it was never meant to be taken as a permanent place. So even being thrown into the lake of fire, it is more like how, if I'm correct, the Muslims say that you are only there for a you're only there for a time frame and then you get to go in heaven. Just the same way as going into Gehenna wasn't a permanent place. You either go into oblivion or you get relieved and get to go to heaven. Sheol, not a permanent place. You get to leave after a certain period of time. But it is not until later on Christian writers changes it to this eternity of sin. Eternity of torment. So when you think about it, there is no hell that you live in forever. So when a Christian says, if you're wrong, you go to hell, which means if you're wrong and Christianity is right, you will go to hell. According to the Bible itself, you will not suffer in hell for all eternity. Either you go into total destruction or eventually you make it up there. But it is a better fear weapon to teach people that you go there forever and you just burn forever. And this is the biggest part. You don't know because ain't nobody died and come back. You see, when they tell the people of ancient times and even people today have always been caught up with what happens after you die. Death and life and death has always been a major thing. And so because they don't have the capacity to just say, wow, my hat looks so freaking crooked for me. People just can't say, I don't know. So instead of just saying, I don't know, they come up with different stuff. They come up with ideas. They start making up stories about Dumuzi. Then they make up Shawala. Then they make up Arulu. Then they make up Sheol. And they make up Gehenna based on a place that, oh, that must be what it's like when you die. And then other stories, oh, well, they're only there for 12 months because, you got people who are thinking that they family went to Gehenna and they're going to suffer forever. Oh, well, no, not forever, just 12 months. And on the Sabbath, they get a break. And then after 12 months, they get to go and be with God, or they just go into total destruction. So you don't have to worry about them so much. And then the Christians and then the Romans get their hands on Christianity and they just really ratchet it up because they created it, but they ratchet it up over time, over centuries, to make you think that you're going to be eternally punished if you don't follow this. And then they throw things in there like the government that you're born under is the one that God wanted you to be. So you need to pray for your rulers and you need to obey the laws of your rulers so that the rulership and the power structure can say that if you don't, not only will you suffer here in this lifetime, but you're going to suffer for all eternity. So it becomes this tool of the powerful to keep the less powerful in line when they don't know that the ones who are the less powerful, because their numbers are numerous, they are the powerful ones. They most certainly are the powerful ones. But what do you guys think? I know I've been talked for about 30 minutes. I said I know I was going to explain this in 10, 15 minutes, but I explained it took me 30. Is there anything that you didn't get, that you didn't understand, that I might need to brush over again? And Boss Lady's right, nobody knows on the other side. And That's what we should be. We should all be ready for whatever happens. And in my readiness, it is the power of my mind that allows for me to be ready. But, and as, oh, moving fast. The man said that because Jesus didn't die for our sins, he died for his dad's, and God gets mad when you don't respect the sacrifice he has someone else make for him on his behalf. He never feels any pain or accountability. Which is like you came, you impregnated a woman which is against your own rules, to sacrifice yourself to yourself for the bullshit that you started yourself. It's a good question. Where in the Bible does it support that hell is not permanent? Most of the information that I just provided, you're not going to find in your Bible. Your Bible just describes some of these places and somewhat of the instances of it. So, like for instance, Jesus came and he supposedly went into Abraham's bosom and took everybody out, as well as the people in Abaddon. So those places are supposed to be empty because he went and ministered to those people. You have a witch from Endor, and I know Star Wars, who did some magic spells for Saul to bring Samuel's soul back so that he could talk to them. So you don't have a lot of information about being there temporarily. These are things you will find like in midrashes that are written about the situation, or what you see with different writers in different time frames who are saying that these are only temporary places. Now, like Tartarus in the Greek stories is temporary. Gehenna in some of the stories are temporary. The Bible doesn't necessarily support the idea of a hell, period, because all of them are different places with different concepts. So if God let Jesus get sacrificed for him, how is that any different from Cain, from different than Cain's sacrifice? Well, Cain brought some vegetables. Cain didn't bring that meat. He didn't bring that meat. But Cain's sacrifice, God just didn't accept it. It doesn't say why he didn't accept it. Christians like to say that it was because Cain didn't bring his best. But when you actually read that story, you see absolutely nothing that suggests that. It's just that this God simply didn't accept Cain's sacrifice, right? But Jesus' sacrifice was acceptable simply because this God likes to have blood sacrifice, and that's it. I think the concept of hell with I think the concept of hell with existing as long as Satan exists or isn't forgiven. If there is no Satan, there can be no hell. As long as God doesn't forgive him, he will always be associated with hell. You see, this idea of even Satan is not supported in the Bible. The Satan is the person who is a prosecutor in heaven. If the ideas of the devil was Satan, then Satan could never go into heaven. If the idea of Satan was one of the fallen angels are supposedly chained up in Tartarus, or along the Euphrates River, where four angels who are chained up are supposedly located. So these ideas of Satan don't coincide with the idea of a devil, just someone who has a different opinion than this God and questions, is able to ask questions. But obviously, the Satan character is a part of the heavenly court during this writing in Job. There is no other time frame. So, and then the Satan is not like Uriel, who is supposed to be the chief over the underworld. There is no chief of the underworld, and according to this story. It was only mentioned in Enoch for there to be a person in charge, but Enoch is not accepted as canon, so none of them believe that. this has been cultivated by outside sources, well, by Christian sources, Christian writers throughout the centuries to create this idea of the Satan and the devil and the serpent and Beelzebub and all of them being one and the same. But there is no, the Satan is not the devil. And there's, according to Revelation, no one is in charge of the lake of fire. It just exists. Well, I guess the person who's in charge of the lake of fire would be this God. But that just further indicates how there is no hell. At least in the Greeks, they had somebody who was in charge of it. In these Assyrians, they had somebody in charge of it. In the Babylonians, they had somebody in charge of it. But nobody's in charge of it. Right? Hell, it's a man-made idea. Yeah. The only connection, that is the only connection to God in accepting Abel's gift over Cain's, is because in order to clothe Adam and Eve, he must have killed some animal to do so. So there was some animal sacrifice. So the only sacrifice that he would respect is the sacrifice of blood. I dropped a torch, Tim, and I will make sure that next Monday, because I'm playing golf on Sunday, I will let you know what my score was. That's only, I was just responding to Tim talking about some, I hope you don't feel like you drink coffee. But no, Cain wasn't the first killer. God was. The God of the Bible is the first one that killed anything on the planet. I think your thing took over your typing, but yes, Jesus talks about Hades. You see, when they wrote these things, originally it will say, it's either going to say Tartarus or Hades, or it's going to say Hienon, which is translated to Gehenna, or Sheol. It's not going to say Hades. Okay, he put the correction up. So anytime the Jesus character would have been referring to that place, he would have either used the term Hades or he would have used the term Tartarus. Said the sixth day of the Bible, all seed-bearing plants and fruits was consumable. So that was life that ended as well. Y'all see this bullshit? He told me he want the scorecard signed by a friend. The two guys that I'm playing golf with, I will make sure one of them sign the scorecard just for Tim. It's going to be horrible. Probably going to be like 90 something. If it's below 100, I'll be thankful. Off topic. Are you going to a correct history? I don't understand the question. And this is the thing, saying that it's almost like they wrote so much stuff that it started busting in on itself, and it does. But understand, for them, it is just like Christianity today. Christianity today is very different from Christianity 200, 300 years ago. These doctrines change slowly over time. And after you get 1, 2 generations um, that believe something, then it just becomes the belief, the norm. And they begin to say that the other people were wrong. So as this doctrine of hell changed, they would just look back in the first century and say, oh, the people in 500, they were wrong. They were under Persian rule. They thought about it in the Persian way. Some of the kings were worshiping Baal. Some of the people were worshiping Baal. They was doing a Molech. Yeah, so they just didn't understand. We know now, in the same way that people do now, is to change that doctrine. Am I going to do it? I thought you was going to do it. I thought you brought that up because you was going to do it. You should do it. I already got 2 channels. Well, 3 channels. Sean, you do it. I got 3 channels. I got 3 channels already. And I'm thinking about a change that I'm going to do to one of the channels. So you do it. Look, I'm retired. I ain't trying to work that hard. The hell? I'm trying to live a retired life. He's trying to get me to work more. I've never seen this movie, Heretic, but I will look it up. I'm pretty sure that my wife will probably look it up before I do, but I will look it up. Heretic. Not only if this was true, we'd have a personal Bible attached to our hip. If this was true, then we would know about when they used to think that the people who were in Guyana would walk around the town on the Sabbath and they were escorted by some type of angel. If that was a true story, we would know it's true. We would still be pouring libations over people's graves on a constant basis to make sure they have food and substance, but we don't do these things. These things they come in and then they go back out. They get changed based on our society. If you do, let me know. We can do some collaborations where I can come onto your show or onto you make videos with you from time to time, not all the time, and not a whole lot, from time to time. Oh, my wife said that Heretic is a horror movie, so no, we don't do horror movies. I don't understand why people want to do horror movies. Don't make sense to me. I find more stupidity in them. And this is the thing: if we wanted, we wouldn't even have to go to church. According to this book, it is embedded on your hearts. If the word of God is embedded on your hearts, and since the overwhelming majority of the people on the planet don't believe in the same gods, and don't believe in Christianity, and don't believe in Islam, and don't believe in any other isms, then what is the word of this God? Actually, that's a good video. That'd be a good video. Yes, I saw Jalen Hurts smoking a cigar. He took the label off so that you didn't know what it was. So more than likely, it was probably a Cuban, so that people wouldn't know that it was a Cuban. Hold me to it, Sean. You create the channel. From time to time, I'll do a video or go on live with you. From time to time. Not all the time. It's the Cohiba Madura. Earlier today, I had uh, the Tatawahi Korohu 2012. And Korohu is the primary word of cojones. That Tatawahe cojones was good. It's funny I can get people to talk to me about cigars on this channel, but on my cigar channel, people don't talk to me about cigars that much. It's a damn shame. All right, back to the subject. Back to the subject. You know, the Bible does give a whole lot of content. There's a lot you can talk about it because there's so much information that's so incorrect and mistaught, and misteachings of it. And there's always some new person trying to teach something else. And there are so many things that are not historical, why people are trying to claim that it's historical. No, I'm not going to put a loud pack in my cigar. Oh, I would love to go on Myth Vision. I like Myth Vision, Apologetics. I like a lot of those shows. Do I think it's a parallel between Satan being bound to the bottomless pit and then he released? Kronos is bound to Tartarus and is released. I do think that you do get those comparisons and they borrow from them stories. So once the idea of Satan in around the third and fourth century was combined into this one ideal of Satan being the same as the beast that is supposed to be chained up in the pit and then let loose for a while, that those types of ideas come from the being Hellenized, and then the Romans who still their religion was basically a renaming of the Greek religion. But yeah. And a lot of what you find in this Bible comes from that 500 to 70 CE time frame, where you have the Zoroastrian influence, the Greek influence, the Roman influence, all being pushed into that area. So when it was being redacted and edited, when the Old Testament was being redacted and edited, and then when the New Testament was being created, they pulled on those familiarities. No, I do not dip my cigar in liquor. I know some people do. I just don't. I don't like that. Do you believe we are the lost tribe? Absolutely not. There is no such thing as the lost tribe of Israel. The 10 tribes that were in the northern Israel were merely absorbed into the Assyrian Empire, and then for those remnants, they were later absorbed into the Babylonian Empire. There and when the Persians released them, those they then merged in with the lower Judah, the kingdom of Judah. So there is no lost tribes. And no, we are not. We do not fulfill any prophecies of Deuteronomy. Great comment. Great comment. Just great comment. The New Testament was purposely written to be favored by the Romans, to give the Romans their power base, but to have a little underdog trying to fight against them, but ultimately becoming Roman, becoming a pro-Roman story. I know. The whole idea of the lost tribes was something that was concocted and utilized. I mean, it was for by the Black Israelite movement to be able to take these black men who were feeling powerless and give them something to make them feel more powerful by attaching them to the Bible, but not in such a way that they are responsible for Israel in itself right now, but they were a lost tribe that can then at some point regain Israel. But if these Israelites were the true lost, why aren't they over in Israel right now? Why are they letting somebody else run their country if it have their land? Yeah, all those religions are religion of colonizing people, whether we're talking about European colonizers or we're talking about Arab colonizers. I need my torch, it fell. But either way, is religion, these religions only grew because of colonization. Take colonization out of the picture, these religions would not be primary religions today. Coach, have you read the whole Bible? I've read the entire Bible about 50, 60 times. And there's no evidence of this lost tribe. And when they try to pull out Deuteronomy, what is it, 24:68 or something like that, the only time frame that could have fulfilled that prophecy is when Titus came and conquered Judea. Uh, Many fled into Egypt. Most were marched over the land to Egypt or sailed on ships to Egypt. When they got there, though, they were purchased or forced into slavery, which is the common trope for the Romans to conquer people, then disperse them out and sell them as slaves throughout the Roman Empire. Now, there were plenty of buyers. The other aspect of it that doesn't fit is that we never, when black people came to America on ships, when the Africans came to America on ships, first of all, they weren't Jews. That's the first thing. The second thing, when they got here, there were plenty of buyers, tons of buyers. That was the whole purpose. Appreciate that. Watching from Jamaica in that nice warm weather. Don't worry, before this year is over, I'll be in Puerto Rico watching, doing this from some warm weather. The Polynesian people are probably the lost tribe. I know you're joking. I'm just gonna take that as a joke. I don't even believe that you mean that. I think you're just saying that. There are no lost tribes. Mm-hmm. Now, I didn't get to ask a question. Did any of the information that I provided today concerning this help anybody in their detachment away from this fear of hell? I forgot to ask that question. Y'all got me all caught up into other things. Randall said yes. Cool, 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 cool. Yeah, because that was the purpose. I got to make sure the purpose is fulfilled. So one person did. But am I one of those people who are satisfied at one person? Oh, if I just help one person, then I've done my job. No, that's not me. Because even if you were already detached, did it further your detachment away from it? There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Hell. Mm-hmm. Well, Dante's Inferno, I skipped it. I missed the ability to put it up there. But yeah, Dante Inferno is what gave people their modern idea of what the devil looks like, and the horns and the tail and red, and uh, these levels of hell and all these sorts of things. Dante's Inferno was probably one of the biggest things that influenced it, even influenced modern ideals of hell. I'll go to hell if I can bring my air conditioning. Oh, hold on, hold. Give me a second. I forgot to do that part. So here's the link to call in or to come on the show. Right. If it added to your percentage, that's good. Y'all going too fast. Have I seen Da Vinci's Code? Yeah, I have. It's interesting. It takes a lot of liberties, but it's interesting. I actually like it though. I like all of them, the Da Vinci's Code and then the Angels and Demons, and then whatever the other ones. And then they had a TV series show that I thought was pretty good, that kind of like a prequel. Hey man, I saw something. Look. You know what? I don't know. I don't remember that, but I'm gonna look that up. That Ezra 2 and Nehemiah 7 states that if you don't have records, you're not Israelite. And most black people do not have records. Most, and if you do have records, like I have a lot of records of my ancestry, but most of them they stop somewhere in the 17 to 16 17s to late 1600s, and only a couple will go to the ship and where that ship, and then you find the manifest for that ship, and then you get the idea of, well, at least I know they came from this particular area. But most have no records. Now I put the link up there, Jose, or I think it was Jose, or no, it was Joseph. I ain't see you come up yet, Joseph. How do you figure hell is real? Christianity just truth wrapped in lies. How do you prove that hell is real? Because if he was, I don't know if he was on here for the whole thing earlier, Kings, but there is absolutely no way the Bible supports hell in any form of any format. It is none. It is not supported at all. Hold on, I got Donnie about to come up. Let me turn my volumes up before I bring him on. Unmute yourself. Okay, here, wait a minute.
Hey, how you doing?
What's up, man?
Hey. Oh, somebody had before I came on to talk about what I wanted to talk about. Somebody had asked me how well do I can I read the Bible? I think that's what it was in the group here, the chat here.
Uh-huh.
How well can you read it or get it? I think he meant like how am I understanding it or what? But I was just talking about that to my brother. How I really don't understand how people don't see it, or at least comprehend it for what it is that they're reading, because they're reading words say that God is doing in or saying something, but yet choosing to make the choice to disconnect from what it is that they're reading because of what they were told growing up about it.
Uh-huh.
So to I guess to answer the question, if I'm comprehending it right, is I'm just reading it. I'm just reading the book, and and I'm like, I guess I don't know how to explain it outside of
Outside of you froze. You completely froze.
can you hear me? Yeah, I'm not seeing that per se, but I'm just like
You
reading.
froze. So whatever you
Oh,
were
okay.
saying, ain't nobody heard it.
Oh shoot. Oh, so I guess the answer to the question was when I'm reading it, the Bible or anything really, but we're on religion here, is is like how Neo was looking at computer screens or whatever, he's seeing zeros and ones. Like I'm not seeing that per
Right.
se. I'm just reading what it is, and I'm not like trying to get something out of it. I'm just reading the words and comprehending a sentence of what
Mhm.
it's saying. And if I don't understand the word that's being used, I just go to the dictionary and look up the word and see, oh, that's what that word means. So I'm not trying to make up a metaphor to coincide with my beliefs.
Right.
Oh, this is what he meant by blah 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 in the apple or whatever the tree we were taking. It was like, well, it didn't say that. You're just making that up because it'll make you feel better.
I mean, that's how most Christians read the Bible,
Yeah.
based on what's going to make them feel better and what they've been taught their entire life. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, me personally, I read it intellectually,
Yeah.
because I'm past adding emotions to it. Because when you add emotions to it, then you give it a predetermined location. You already know where you're going to end up.
Yeah. Yes, yes. And one of the craziest things to me that I have ever heard about it is that you have to pray first before reading it. Basically, ask God for understanding of what you're about to read. But I'm like, that's literally asking to be programmed, because if I read what I'm reading, then I should just start believing it or not.
Yep. And that's where they get the idea that you have to read it with the Holy Spirit, because then the Holy
Hmm.
Spirit will reveal it to you. But how is it revealing anything to you if all it's doing is confirming what you already believe? Then
Because
there's
of the
why should I even read it? At that,
yes, yeah, because of the metaphors that follows with it that you also been instilled with, in or the metaphor that you want to come up with yourself by think calling yourself thinking a little bit.
right. And so when I read it intellectually, I'm thinking about the history around it. I'm thinking about the politics around it. I'm thinking about the archaeology that we know, the linguistics of it, what that language meant to those people. What did it mean
Hmm.
to those people when
Hmm.
they wrote it? So first, I got to know who wrote the thing and what time frame, because that changes.
Hmm.
If you're reading it based on first century Jewish people, Jewish thought, and then but you go and read it based on fifth, sixth century BCE Jewish thought, it's a totally different reading, has different meaning. So you have to read it in conjunction with the time frame of the people who wrote it and what they were believing, then learn and understand how different, how it changed over and over and over again.
Also, I think that you can't subtract the factor that somebody wrote it, meaning that they also could have instilled put some of what they wanted to put in there as well. Meaning, hey, I'm going to do my own will and say this instead of what I supposed to have said.
Oh, most certainly.
Yeah.
If I'm in charge and I got slaves, I'm going to make sure that these slaves stay obedient.
Absolutely.
If I'm a king or a feudal lord, I'm gonna make sure that y'all stay obedient. So I'm gonna put things in there like if you were born, whatever ruler you were born under, you meant for you to be born under that ruler.
Hmm.
Now, if the person goes against me, you're going against God.
Absolutely.
If
Also,
I was
also
born white,
things, also things like govern unto your government, meaning your owner. It's
yeah.
like I'm gonna tell them the things like that. God said, govern unto your government, even
Hmm.
though you got to put Him first before anything. So
Yeah.
that's the conflict. That's just one conflict right there.
And I'm gonna get your money.
uh,
If I'm writing it, I'm getting your money. I'm trying to live
throw,
my best life.
throw me them shekels, please.
Yeah, it's like Crystal said. Crystal just said because I'm a always be the queen in my story. Exactly. I'm a always be the queen in my story.
Exactly. Why would I write myself as the loser if and keep it that way? Like I never
Yes.
came back up or anything.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. But I had thought about this a while ago. I just recently finished Lovecraft Country, the
Yes.
TV series. Um, and one of the things that to me, one of the absolute best black cinema ever made, in my opinion.
Okay.
But one of the things in there that was said about the spells that were being cast and the theory that every word that we speak is a spell because of spelling, haha to that. But they had mentioned intentions. So like basically the spell consists of blah blah blah. Also, the intentions of and blah blah blah. And it had me thinking like, what if that sounds like a loophole, so to speak.
Right.
Intentions because my God knows my intentions, right?
Hmm.
So the intentions is that I'm saying this spell for the intentions of whatever it is that I'm using it for. But my thoughts on how I think a spell may work is, or how any type of ritual will work is, I shouldn't have to worry about intentions because if I have the steps here,
Right.
then it should just happen if I'm doing it correctly.
Right.
Kind of like I thought about maybe this is a can help. I thought about spells being said in another language, even though they're saying if I say that spell in my native tongue, meaning English, like how you're comprehending me now,
Hmm.
using the same words but in a different language, that spell should still work. Like, how does whatever is casting the spell, meaning the genie probably in this place, that's casting the spell, after I say the ask of the requirements of the spell, meaning I check the spell, which is me asking of the requirements of this spell happening, whatever that is, it should be able to understand me in any type of language of me saying the spell, meaning that I shouldn't have to worry about the intentions.
Right.
If I'm conveying that right, if I'm conveying that right, I mean it's a new thought out my head, so I'm just conveying it. Uh,
No, I'm with you. I'm with
okay.
you for the most part. I've always said that spells are really just the practice of you getting your intentions out. If a spell was real, you wouldn't need any intentions. But the true spell is just your mindset, how you think,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
energy you put out, and then the actions that you put forward. And if you convince people that you are a spellbinder, their own energies will move in the direction of the spell itself. So it's really just, it's mind control.
Mm-hmm.
Control your
Mm-hmm.
mind, control the minds of others, and eventually, most of the time, the things that you're casting the spell for are going to happen.
Yeah, I think another variation of fear,
Which is,
because
yeah, fear.
yeah, because without you, we're already being instilled subliminally
Hmm.
to self-hate ourselves, which is a fear tactic or a variation of fear. So therefore, I don't have I guess, enough will for this spell to take place if my intentions
Uh-huh.
isn't right.
Yeah,
I guess is what I'm thinking of.
yeah. And then that your intentions make it good or bad, and some people's good, some people's bad. It's a whole mess of stuff. But man, hey,
Exactly.
now, have you ever heard this? That the word blessed is actually a curse?
I've heard that the word bless is, um, I guess what we would call gutting or bleeding out an animal to drain all the blood of it out of it. Is That's something I've heard about what blessed is meaning. So when they say blessing, you're like endowed with the blood,
Yeah, I never
I
heard
guess.
that. I
Oh
never
yeah,
heard it. So I was asking.
oh yeah,
Because
that's what I heard.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
have
that's
no
what I
idea.
heard.
I never researched the word blessed. I've always just taken it for what it is. But
Yeah, that's what I heard. I didn't do drastic research on the word blessed, but I mean everything else is evil within the Bible, so I would just would assume that's just as evil too.
yeah, it may not be. It depends on where it comes from, what it means.
I'm saying that because it's God said it. So, and
I'm just
God is evil, so the word is evil as well.
so to me, like when I tell somebody, like if my wife sneezes, and that's like I tell her blessings, 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 blessings. For us, it's more of a joke or of a polite
Hmm.
thing to say. It has no indication of any gods or goddesses whatsoever, but it's just a polite thing that we say because we were brought up to say it, right? Now,
Absolutely.
because we've made changes as to what we think, and we don't go with belief but knowings. Uh, we don't say it with the intent of "May this God bless you."
Absolutely.
We also know scientifically your heart doesn't stop or anything like that. So it's like, or it skips beats and shit. So it's just a common thing that we just say. Hold on, I'm gonna
That's
bring Josie up here as well. It's just a
yeah,
common thing we say. It ain't got nothing else to
yeah.
it.
About the whole bless you after you sneeze. I was told that it was when you sneeze and they say bless you, that'll keep the soul. Basically, that's the spell to keep the soul in you for you won't get sick.
Hold on. Shameless, shameless plug. Shameless plug. If you go to my wife's channel, if you go to my wife's channel, you will find that she actually did a video about the different thought processes that people had about saying bless you as far as demons coming out or soul going out. Some say it was demons coming out, some say so, but she did a whole video, a little 3-minute video about when people say bless you. Uh,
Hmm.
it's a channel called Really Did You Know? So shameless plug. Go over and like my wife's channel. Really Did You Know?
Oh, okay, cool,
And
sweet,
Angelina,
sweet.
if you're on here, go on and say something on here to give a little tag so people can click on it. So they'll see the name of Really Did You Know? Shameless plug. Go to my wife's channel. Tell
Wouldn't
you
that also?
how women carry flowers during a wedding.
Oh,
So they
because
have,
they stink. But wouldn't that also add to the whole intentions and spell thing too? We're saying bless you, your intentions is not to have God bless you, like you stated earlier. You just saying it out of muscle memory.
Yeah, all of it is magic. But it's
Hmm.
the thing of, if it's for your God is good, if it's for somebody else is evil. And then for us to deconstruct it, it's just memory, like you said, it's muscle memory. And Joseph, you can jump in here.
Sorry, y'all. I just didn't want to interrupt, man.
Nah, I threw you up here. Say something.
I was gonna say since y'all talking about like blessing or whatever. I always since I was a kid, I always heard that when you say bless you, it's cause your like heart skips a beat or some shit. So it's to it's
Keep that
so
soul
your
in
heart
you.
doesn't stop beating and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's what I always was told as a kid and stuff.
Yeah. Once your heart stop beating, that soul will start to seep out. So you say bless
Right,
you, so your
there you
soul
go.
can be trapped
There's a lot.
inside the body.
Got to go to Really Did You Know and check out her
Man,
videos. There's a lot more to it
trap
because
that soul in your body.
it's one of those things that you'll see cultural changes over time happen, and people came up with different stuff.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just
Hmm.
like the
About the spell thing though. So do y'all believe that's like magic, like actual magic?
Well, if you believe in religion, I think you first. I think if you believe in any types of religion, I don't see why you can't or won't believe in absolutely everything else.
Right.
That's
That makes sense.
yeah, because to believe, period, I think is supernatural
Yeah,
because you
exactly.
because you're believing in the supernatural to believe to begin with. So if that be the case, then if if magic is not around now, at one point it did exist. If religion is real, that's what
Right.
I believe about
It's
it.
like how it's like how they say like back then, since everybody believed in magic and everybody believed in like esoteric shit, that because there was so much belief in it, it's like how y'all were saying, whatever your intentions are, it can come true as long as you put the energy in it or whatever. So
yeah,
like since everybody believed magic was real, then it was more prevalent in the world. And once science started coming around and everybody started believing more in like biology and evolution and actual like scientific theory, that the magic started to go away or whatever.
I thought magic became science.
Well, yeah, that too. There you go.
and see, in most cases, magic does become science because it's like the scientists will always say, any sufficient amount of technology or science that is above the common knowledge will appear to be magic.
Yeah, there you go. That's true. Yeah.
Now that's one way of looking at it. Um, the thing about it is, I follow hermetics because I know that the things in hermetics are actual, and because hermetics also allow for there's shit that we don't know and that we won't know, but there are ways to access it.
Follow what?
Hermetics.
Oh, okay.
So the way I look, the way I see it is, we have access to things that we don't know how we have access to it, and we will claim those things as supernatural. And so that's where the idea of supernatural things come from. So I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I should be able to levitate this damn thing or change the molecular structures of this into anything else. There's a way to do it. I just don't know how to do it yet. And to me, I can do it with my mind, but I just haven't quite got there. If I ever did it, it would be supernatural, right? Until we find a scientific way to do it where everybody can do it or a machine can do it,
Right. Yeah.
it becomes technology. But when I can do it with my mind, that's supernatural. And I do think that that's possible. And I'm gonna use this horrible word, but I hope that I achieve it one day. because I practice every day, especially when the remote controller is over there and I don't want to get up.
or the
Y'all
Or
think
the
I'm crazy?
beer.
I sit there and I meditate and I'm like, I'm feeling it in my hand. It's moving. I'm trying to see it move into my hand. Yes, I do think that that is possible. I just don't know how to do it, but I'm gonna keep working on it.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it's probably like the pyramids and shit like that. How they say they move them with sound or whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's probably all frequent. Well, you know how they say everything's all frequency. Everything's
Everything is energy. Everything is
right.
frequency and vibration.
It's like how they say like you know how our atoms are never touching or whatever. They're constantly moving. So like if you slam your hand on a table, if you do it like a billion times or whatever, eventually your hand should be able to pass right through it if
Right.
you vibrate your molecules at the right frequency or whatever.
Exactly. Just like the Flash.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yep.
Could intentions be, or not be, but could it whatever doubt is, could it be that you can't levitate the remote to you because of because you know you can't fly, therefore a piece of that is sprinkled into all the other intentions of what you're trying to do?
That's exactly right, bro. That's gotta be it, man.
So if I heard you correctly, because I did look at somebody's comment at the same time, so I might have got it wrong. So, but what you're saying is that because I've been told that I can't fly, and I believe that, and it's not normal to fly, that's what's holding me back from flying. Is that what you?
Yeah, let's go with that.
And that's the thing I'm trying to get over. I've been conditioned that I cannot levitate this. So I'm trying to get over that doubt from my conditioning so that I would know that I can levitate this, and then it'll levitate. So
I think the
that's
I
my
think
pathway right now.
I think the first step is flying. Like once anybody can fly, or once you can fly, I think that right there would eliminate all doubt of anything else of whatever reality is.
Yeah. Or you see, right, you see somebody else do it. Like I love track. I used to run track, love track. Nobody could break the 4 minute mile. That was deemed impossible until one man did it in the Olympics.
Yeah,
Once he did
The
it,
Kenyan guy, right?
no, no, so it's an American white guy thing. He did it.
Maybe, I think I'm thinking about the 2 hour marathon then.
Yeah, that. But then once he did it, now kids in high school are doing it. Once
Right, right.
it's possible, once you know that it can happen, then the knowing of something is what makes it possible. You know, so I just got to make it possible.
But also, what like rational? Wouldn't rational play a heavy part in that? Because
No,
that
rationality keeps you pinned
Right.
down.
Keeps you grounded, right?
oh, okay, yes, yeah, okay.
You know, you,
So
you know what's
it
crazy though?
seems like okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, my bad, bro. Go ahead. If you were going to say something, my bad.
No, well, I was thinking about because I said this once on one of my shows. I'm paraphrasing myself because I can't quite remember, but it seems like we all believe, but we just need that fairy dust. Like we all have the Peter Pan in us. We just need the fairy dust, and whatever. And what I mean by that is, it seems like everything has to be found within some type of drug versus it just won't do it without it. Like
Right.
mushrooms is supposed to get you here, or mushrooms put you here. But I'm like, well, I don't
Right.
really think so. And how
It's a
come you can't do this without mushrooms? Like, how come I can't enter the matrix without the red N or blue pill? Like, why does I have to be? Why do I have to be drugged in order for me to believe that something is happening?
well, you know, with that, I think it's because we're basically trapped in our five senses, right? So when you take the mushrooms or when you take the DMT or whatever, it breaks you out of those five senses, and you're able to explore that sixth or that dimension that's above ours that we usually don't have access to. So if you think about it, uh, like when they say like trees are alive and all that stuff, but we don't really see it. But then when you take mushrooms, then you're starting to see the trees actually breathe. You're starting to see the grass sway like it's a rug and stuff like that. And then the deeper you get, I mean, the crazier the experience is. But the wild thing is, like, other people don't see it, but it's obviously not just in our heads. Because sometimes when you take it in a group, but you don't share the experiences at first, once you talk about it after, you realize you saw the same stuff, which is like insane to even think about. It's like us taking it right now, and in 3 hours we talk about it, and we all saw the same people in the trip.
Okay, so why can't those people do this without? Like, if you get, why can't
because
you?
because you can. You
Oh,
can.
and that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. That's what
So
I'm
my
thinking. If
process.
it can be done, then it can be done.
So here's the thing, because I'm not saying that anyone. Y'all should not take shrooms. Do not take shrooms. I am telling you not to take shrooms. That is illegal. But I will say this. The first process that I went through, okay, so when I did shrooms, I went on a great journey. Beautiful. But I wanted to be able to go on that journey continuously. So when in my studying of shrooms, what I understood is that new engrams are being connected from your conscious and subconscious mind to be able to open you up, right? So I began a process of microdosing. I microdosed for a very long period of time. And the longer and longer I microdose, the more and more, and at the same time, I was meditating, I was using the chakra concept as a method of focus and creation. And over time, I learned how to put myself not in the full state of being on a shroom trip, but at the very beginning of that shroom trip. So I can sit and meditate and get myself into that, but in the beginning of that process, where my mind all of a sudden starts seeing things and opening up to things and seeing, I will see the vibration of a tree or plant. I will see the vibrations of a person or anything else. And then new ways of thinking started coming as well. So I ain't saying none of y'all should do it. Matter of fact, I'm telling y'all not to do it. Right? Hear me? None of y'all should do it. But I choose that definitely over alcohol or anything that is damaging to the body, because shrooms are not damaging to the body. They really shouldn't be a Schedule 1 or whatever they call it, A1C or what, not A1C, you know. It shouldn't be. But I am not proving this. You hear me? You got me on tape.
Yeah, just if you don't do it, but if you're gonna do it, make sure you're prepared, because the ride he's gonna take you on will be incredibly insane, and you don't want to. You don't want to be doing it by yourself. You definitely don't want to be doing it with somebody that's not ready for it, and you definitely don't. You basically what I'm saying. You need a babysitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you need a
Be
babysitter
prepared to
for the
think.
babysitter.
Yep. And put anything
Be
dangerous
prepared to
away.
think.
And then don't take it on a whim either, because if you just take it, willy nilly, you know what, this guy has shrooms today, I'm gonna take them. No, you're in for a bogus ride down the crazy train.
And make sure you got about 5, 6, 7 hours that you
Yeah,
ain't got to go nowhere or be nowhere. Because you're gonna go in and out from anywhere from 4 to 7 hours, depending upon how much you take and how much your body weight and height and all that stuff too.
exactly. Have y'all ever heard of like lucid dreaming and like sleep paralysis and shit like that?
I've heard of I lucid dream purposely, I lucid dream damn near every night. But most of the time, the reason why I would lucid dream is because if I don't like the way the dream is going, then I know when I'm dreaming, and I just change it.
Right.
There you go.
So
But I've never had dream paralysis.
yeah, that shit scary as hell.
Mm-mm.
But I used to get it a lot when I was a kid.
Hey man, get that off my screen.
Oh, my bad, bro. And I used to get it all the
Just
time as
saying
a
about the
kid.
mushrooms.
Yeah, right. I'm over here downgraded. But I looked it up to how to get rid of it and stuff because it was like exhausting and it was super frightening. And then that's how I learned about lucid dreaming. But I had to like actually practice to try to be able to do it. And eventually, like after a long time, I got the hang of it or whatever. But the problem is when I would do it and stuff, like I'd wake up and I'd still be exhausted for some reason though. Because I feel like my brain probably wasn't sleeping at all, really, because because you're conscious, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you're not actually sleeping. It's like you're still doing the day's work in the dream or whatever. But anyway, the reason I bring it up is because how Donnie was talking about doubt and stuff and flying. You made a great point because I remember in a couple of those dreams, I would try to fly and stuff, and I'd be able to do it. But then, like, I'd be flying, and then I'd go up into space or whatever the hell. And then, like, for a split second, I'd get that thought, wait, humans can't fly. And it would make me start careening out of the sky, and I'd go down and hit the ground and stuff. So when you said that's what it made me think of, how, like, doubt plays a big part, even in a dream where I'm able to control everything and do whatever I want. Just that little split second thought made the whole thing come crashing down.
And that's what doubt will do to you in your life.
In real life too, yeah.
Real life, it'll do that to you in anything. And so if you can, the more and more you realize you can control things in your dream, the more and more you realize you can control things in your life. This is why I study hermetics more than I study anything else now. Because I used to crash in my dreams when I was younger. I used to always crash. But it's been a good 30 years since I've ever crashed in a dream. I fly in my dreams all the damn time, right? And I never crash. Even when I get close to the ground, I never crash. I'll hover or I'll fly back up, but I never crash, right?
Right.
I recognize that it's a dream, and it's going to sound a little bit like, what's the thing? What's that damn movie where they was going deep into their minds to supplant ideas in other people's minds?
Inception.
Inception.
And you know how they had the top, if they saw a top spinning?
Yeah.
So mine is based on Star Trek Voyager. But
sick.
if I think that if I recognize when I'm in a dream, and in the dream I'll tap my hand, that lets me know I'm in a dream. Once I do that, I gain all control over the dream.
So it's like a little towel or something?
Yeah, it's like a little
This is
talisman
wild.
or some action that you perform that in the dream that recognize you're in the dream.
Right.
You will recognize this ain't real. This is a dream. This is not my metaform life.
No, I think on the floor.
Hell I want this thing.
Yeah, I used to do that with, like, when I was first learning about it. The person that I was talking to on Reddit, they told me just to put the time on my hand.
Yeah.
And I'd look at it in the dream to see if it would match up with the actual time it's supposed to be.
And almost anything you decide is going to be your talisman or activity, you just have to think about it. See, I meditated on that. And while I was meditating and I'm creating universes in my mind, I'm tapping. And then especially when I wait for me to get deep into my meditation where I'm not even knowing, I'm not even recognizing anything around me. And that's when I'll start tapping to know that I'm in that state. So then later on, as I got into dream states and things seems weird, I start tapping and that lets me know, okay, I'm in a dream. And it's automatic, it's like training someone in a sport. you get to the point where you don't have to think about it for it to happen. It just happens.
Right.
And I practiced. When I was learning to do that, it was something that I practiced like every day, without fail. Every day I was doing it.
Yeah, because that shit took me forever to learn. But the thing is, I didn't get it naturally. I had to do like, I'd get the sleep paralysis, but then to get rid of the sleep paralysis, I'd have to like try to sleep through it, which is so freaking hard. Because like during sleep paralysis, I don't know if you've seen like what it is or whatever, but it feels like there's something, like you wake up but you can't move, you can't scream, and like you can try to make noise, but nothing comes out, and it feels like there's something like sitting on your chest, or it is like in your room, and your room is it's completely dark, like black, but somehow you can still see like something in the darkness, like a really dark black figure, and they'll like always approach your bed and stuff, like touch your bed, maybe pull the blankets or something. One like legend is like it's a witch that sits on your chest and tries to choke you or whatever. But like a lot of this shit, like I always thought it's bullshit, right? But the thing is, like every time I went through it, I'd be super freaking afraid every single time when it happened to me. And then when I read that I have to like sleep through it to try to like reach the lucid dreaming, I tried it a couple of times and it was almost impossible to do because it was like I just want to snap out of it so quickly because how scary it could get. But then eventually, when I did get the hang of it, uh, I would start doing it. But the problem is, I'd have sometimes in the dreams, there'd be parts where I could control, but there was other parts where like those same beings or whatever that were in the dark or whatever, or sometimes other ones that come out of nowhere, like if I'm making them up in my dream, and like they'll start attacking me and shit like that. So I'd have to like basically like make up stuff like a fight like in the dreams and stuff, and like just some of them were so crazy I couldn't even believe like what was happening and stuff.
So, so how did you get past the dream paralysis?
So the steps they told me, it was basically you wake up, you can't scream or anything, but instead of like trying to move and get out of it, you have to stay calm and just allow yourself to like try to sleep, which is really hard because you like start hearing stuff, you start feeling stuff touching you. Uh, but then it said to keep going or whatever, and like once you get to a certain point, you'll start hearing like I don't know if there's younger people in the chat, but back in the day when our TVs lost signal, it'd be the black and white staticky, scratchy shit. Uh, and I start to hear that, and then it would get really, really, really loud to the point I couldn't hear anything else, and then it would slowly get like super close to my ear, and then to the point where it was so loud, all I heard was a beep, and then it would close like when you turn the TV off, and the screen would go like this and meet in the middle and turn off. It was like that, but like a sound. And then from instantly when that would happen, I'd feel like a weightlessness, and then that's when I'd start entering into the dreams part of it, where I'm there, and then from there, depending on what I'm thinking of, I can make happen whatever I want or whatever.
Okay, I'm with you. That's a good one. Slight change of subject, but not completely. But I wanted to answer this one because I do this one a lot. Patsy Cline is saying, have you ever had a good dream, go to the bathroom, get back in bed, go to sleep, and then resume the dream you were having? Do it all the time. All the time. And the thing about it, Patsy, the way that I am able to do that, and it seems very simple, is I get back in the bed and I meditate on what was happening in that dream and what I want to happen next. And 90% of the time, I'll go right back into that dream and it'll continue on happening. Because yes, I'm pissed when I'm having a good dream and I have to get up. But
yeah,
and really, I know that I'm able to do those sorts of things because for a very long time, I've always been intrigued by dreams, but I wanted to control my dreams. I didn't want something else controlling my dreams. And then especially when some things happened in the military and I developed some PTSD from those things, I didn't like the way those things seemed to be controlling my dreams. And so instead of taking a whole bunch of pills uh, that made me a sluggard, I wanted to control that shit. So it took me some time to control the PTSD dreams so that I would, and then in learning that, I control all my dreams as well.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, for me, I feel like when I go to sleep, sometimes if I'm lucky, I'll wake up and get that dream back. But a lot of the times, I'll wake up and I'll go back to sleep, and the dream is worse.
Uh-uh. I can take a 30-second nap and have a whole goddamn dream. I mean,
Yeah,
you know how you doze off and you wake right back up like a minute later?
right.
I will have a whole dream when I doze off.
That's crazy how time works like that, you know?
That's because time is
This
only
dr- oh,
relative to the existence that you're in.
not you.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? So when you're living right now, time is relative to the sun and the earth and all that sort of thing. When you're in your
Yeah.
dream, time has no value other than the time you give it. And so you can have a whole dream that seems like 2 years have passed, but only a few minutes have passed in our reality time.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how that expands all the way out. You
So,
know, like the universe. If you're traveling in a certain direction and somebody's on a planet staying still, time will
Mhm.
be different for you than it will for them.
Mhm.
Here on Earth, time will go faster for somebody closer to the North Pole than somebody that's not. And also, like even like basic stuff. Like if me and you work at the same job, and I mean, you work at the same job, and we go to work or whatever, and then when we get out, you think the day was super long, but to me, I feel like the day went by really quick.
Yeah.
And like even the smaller you go to it, stop. Even the smaller you go to, it'll be that way too. You know, like on even the smallest levels with atoms and electrons and stuff. That's crazy how constant it is. Everything is so constant all the way down.
Yep. I agree 100%.
yeah, some wild dream talk. Like I don't even. Like I can't. I gotta stop saying I don't dream because I know I do. I just never remember them. I don't. Like I know that I had one,
Did you
but I
get up
never
immediately?
remember. Nah, um, they be dope when I do. Like I recall having like more nightmares or what we would call nightmares, but they're they dreams to me. Probably because I'm a horror fanatic, but but I can't control. This is not the first time I didn't heard something about controlling dreams, but I can't control them. But I always know that I'm in one.
Right. No,
But
I control most of my dreams. And Angelo, is have you ever read something in your dream? Because I've read many things in my dream, whether it's a
oh, you talking
sign,
about
a
red
book.
words? Oh, now that I recall, I can't. I know that I probably have, but I can't recall ever reading anything. Now that you say something about that, bring that up.
Yeah, true.
One of my best reading dreams is I was in, and I know what some people gonna think or say, but I was in the Library of Alexandria, and I was reading scroll after scroll after scroll after scroll, and I understood the language that the scrolls were written in, and that was a beautiful dream. I wish it was reality, but it was a beautiful dream.
Uh, oh yeah, I wish I really could remember my dreams because I would have some dope horror movies by now. Like for real, like I wish I could remember all of them because I
Uh,
just know they've been like
have
I
you?
never played. Oh, I'm sorry. I
No,
never
go ahead.
been anything anybody else in my dreams, and majority of the time it's always first person. Like I'm me, or at least if I
Mhm.
ever come across a mirror and or people tell me I'm me in a dream. Yes, realistic, of course, in some of them. But as far as dreams go, to me, they're pretty much like I'm in a cinema. Like I'm,
So
except I'm the star of it.
you see it third person?
Yeah, yeah. Like I don't see, like I see like how I see in real life. Like if I was to look down at my body, I would see how I would see my
Oh, so you
body.
see first person.
Did I say third person? My bad. I did. Now that you said that, I did say third person. Yes, I see in first person. Yes, I see like how I see in real life in all my dreams.
It depends for me. If I'm having a and understand what I'm saying. If I'm having a singular dream, my singular dream is first person. But if I have a dream within a dream, the dream within a dream is always third person. So
So how are you viewing yourself in that third person?
so when I'm just dreaming, I see out of my eyes. But then when I go to sleep in the dream and have another dream, that dream is always third person.
But
And
what angle are you seeing yourself? Like how are you viewing yourself?
like I'm seeing myself like as I'm watching myself do shit.
Oh, so you're the camera guy?
I'm the camera guy.
Uh,
But then most often I'm both seeing it through my eyes and I'm the camera guy
oh.
because I recognize I'm in a dream within a dream. And
Mm.
actually, I just had one of those like a few nights ago. I did a video about it, I think, but I just had one of those a few nights ago where I had a dream within a dream and I watched myself in the dream have the dream and saw the dream. And I was first person seeing it, detached from the dream.
You made Freddie mad.
I was whoop Freddy's ass in my dreams.
Like, man, come on, is you gonna stay here or not?
Mhm. Mm-mm.
He's like, wow. But yeah, this is some wild stuff. But stuff like that though, what we're this dream stuff that we're talking about and this fail stuff we're talking about, stuff like that, that's what makes me think about the aspect that if God is real, if you choose to believe the existence of this entity, I don't see why you would not believe in absolutely any other construct of idea as a possibility.
I'm gonna say this, and I know it's gonna sound blasphemous. If God is real, then when I die, God gonna do whatever I tell him to do. I was gonna say it a different way, but I'm saying it nice now. He gonna do whatever I tell him to do. If the existence is gonna be whatever I decide the existence is going to be, it is not going to be based on somebody's judgment. If anything, I'll be like the damn Mormons and be like, shit, I'm you too. What? What you got? I create my own universe as well. What? What you gonna do?
It's piggybacking off that. It's kind of hilarious to me that these people will believe that he will kill us, but won't kill these fallen ones or any other disobedient entity outside of humans.
But if you
Or,
think about it, he can't.
but
Because of
I would assume
duality.
so.
Because duality exists on the pole, right? So if you have a pole of good, in order to have a pole of good, there must be evil on the pole as well. Neither can exist without the other. In order for you to Vampire in Brooklyn. If every day was a sunny day, then how would you know what a sunny day is? There
Uh-huh.
must be a cloudy day. There must be a rainy day. So if there is good, there must be evil. You have to have the polar opposite of whatever something is. Like, I don't know where y'all are. It's sunny and warm. Well, it was sunny and warm yesterday. So it's cold somewhere else. But me saying that it's sunny and warm, to somebody else, the same temperature is cold. So we're not talking about warm, hot, and cold. We're talking about heat. And it's a pole of heat. Less heat on the lower vibration, more heat on a higher vibration. So higher vibration, good God, lower vibration, evil God. One cannot exist without the other.
Okay, but here's the thing about that.
Hold on. Vampire Brooklyn.
I love you too.
Give me some of that evil ass. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I had to do it.
The thing, my thoughts on that just came up in my head just now. First, I believe whatever God, like all the gods, first are evil, all of them. I can't think of off the top of my head a good God. And I'm not counting a possible good deed that a God have done, but going off, he can't destroy evil because both good and evil have to exist. One can't exist without the other. Well, it'd be okay because God is both. So he can, I'm thinking that he can destroy the supposed devil or whatever is in Tartarus. So, because I think that's going off the secret books of John, according to that God, I mean, God showed himself to John, or at least the supposed actual God of gods spoke to John, stating that the biblical God is not the actual God. That being said, I think both of them are evil. The supposed biblical God, evil, and the supposed God that was talking to John in the secret books of John is just as evil. So you can get rid of them. You can go ahead and get rid of the other one, and we just have to deal with you or that one.
So, Secret Writings of John. For those who don't know what the hell he's talking about, this is one of the writings found at Nag Hammadi. It's a Gnostic gospel, which talks about how the Plamora is the creator of, ultimately, is the creator of the Yaldabaoth, or the Demiurge. The Demiurge supposedly created Earth. And it's trapping all of our souls on Earth, and our job is to learn through Gnosis how to escape and get back to the Plamora. So with all that damn noise that he's making, so basically, in order for us to, what he's saying is that Yaldabaoth is evil, but the Plamora must also be evil because the Plamora is allowing for Yaldabaoth to do this shit that he's doing. Right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying
so that in turn
evil
makes the Plamora evil as well because it's allowing Yaldabaoth to do all the messed up things to all of us. But in order for Yaldabaoth to have any goodness, he has to allow for the evil. Otherwise, there's no point. It'll be the same as you're a good dad, but you're also a bad dad. But if you just want to be all good, that means you have to destroy the bad dad. But you can never destroy the bad dad. He will always dwell within you. You may not let him out, but he's always going to be there. So,
gotcha.
In my thought process concerning the Gospel of John, why does the Plamora, if the Plamora wanted to be good, he would lock away or tuck away within itself Yaldabaoth so that it can't function and do the actions by which it does. But if Yaldabaoth is not doing anything, you would not know what is bad. Kind of like Adam and Eve in the garden before they ate the fruit. They didn't know the difference between good and evil. It was around them, but they just didn't know it. Right? So, but
yeah,
the Plamora don't give a damn. It's kind of like in the Hermetics, the all just created and just said, all right, I created. And everything in creation is this. And I'm gonna let everything do what it do. And it's for everything to decide what it's going to do in this realm that I created. So
yeah,
with that in Hermetics, Yaldabaoth, or what we would call evil or evil God, has absolutely zero power over any individual person. This is where the Bible does try to get a little bit of that thought process. Like when Cain was getting ready and plotting to kill Abel, this God supposedly came to Cain and said, evil crouches at your door, but you have the power to overcome it, it's indicating evil doesn't have power over you unless you allow it. So
Yeah.
even though it's in the Bible, the all is the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's out there because I cannot create without it being created, because it was part of me, period. But you don't have to succumb to it. Just like we don't have to succumb to racism, we don't have to succumb to gender bias or having a company and doing people dirty. We don't have to succumb to it. When we do, we choose to. So that's my thought on it.
Yeah.
I need you and Josie to talk for about 2 minutes, because it's been 2 hours and I got to use the restroom. Just tell you what it is. But y'all talk about what I just said.
Yeah. Because I wasn't thinking about the. It skipped over my mind about the whole parental thing of it all. Us being parents, and you're always the bad guy no matter what you do. But I think I was thinking more on, I guess, comprehension, like how does he even know what to comprehend, to even know what language is, to even convey, if that makes sense. like the accidental creation manifestation of or at least I'm calling it an accidental manifestation, because it's the way I took it, as God didn't know, or I forget the name of who he said in the secret books of John, the God created the female manifestation by accident. Was it not Sophia? Or is it Sophia?
Sophia's wisdom.
Wisdom is it? Yeah.
The Gomorrah created Sophia. The Sophia was the Yaldabaoth then was created, and the Yaldabaoth was supposed to create the earth with the help of the Sophia, but it didn't. So now the Sophia is trying to help humans to get back to the Gomorrah, and that became the Holy Spirit. I don't know.
No, hold on. Because I thought it was at least six other entities created before the Sophia entity.
It depends on what you read, who you're reading, because you do have some that talk about the archons being created.
Okay, that's probably what it is, and these are supposedly be like living embodiments of like individual emotions or wisdom or fear, or even, right? Am I getting that right? Like individual. Anywhere I go, these individual entities know how to convey. Like, how does it know? Like, the first thing it says is, "Can you give me wisdom?" Like, how do you know what wisdom is in order for you to be asking for wisdom and just being created as the second thing in creation, period?
Right.
And stuff like that happens throughout the whole entire of all religions. Like, you just born with comprehension levels of sophistication of some sort, and that's wild as well. That's the supernaturalness as well of it all.
Supernaturalness. Making up words.
I know I like making up words, man. I figure white people do it all the time, so we.
But so if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is, how can something be created already having wisdom about within it?
Yes, like how do you have the wisdom to ask for wisdom?
From our perspective, wisdom only comes through trial and error. Right? We observe, we take in facts or what we believe to be facts, we put them into an understanding, and from that understanding, we act. And through that action, we review the results, and then we gain wisdom concerning those facts, understanding, and actions. Well, nothing could exist without having to go through that process. This would be a correlation of how the universe in itself, through the singularity, expands and contracts, expands and contracts. If this God is a thinking God, if there's a creator, then all of creation, since it has been eternity of creation and destruction, should be gaining wisdom throughout each creation and destruction. And the Sophia supposedly is present, is what comes and is created based on the Plamora going through this creation and destruction over and over again. So then wisdom is created, which is merely a part of the Plamora. But then ego, well, id, not ego, id is created, which they were calling the demiurge, which is just instinctive nature, out of the Plamora as well, from just its instinctive nature to just create. But all of that is just how man sees the universe. So for me, even the Gnostics is just throwing shit against the wall. Based on a lot, but it's based on somewhat of a logical process.
Yeah, because I was about to say what you're saying. You said what I was about to say at the end. It's like it still sounds like we're tampering with imagination or exploring imagination. Still.
Hold on, Patsy. I'm gonna make the assumption that Donnie wasn't meaning any disrespect towards white people in the sense of white people just make up stuff all the time. It's the process of thinking through our natural history. And in our natural history, right now we're in a state where most of history has been determined. History is always determined by the victors. Knowledge, inventions, all things are determined by the victors. And right now, the white people are the victors, have been for the last few hundred years. So
history says so.
They get the privilege of writing it. So
therefore, making up these words.
But I like being fair and making sure nobody walks away, on bad terms with everybody. We just want to make sure everybody's good to go. So she just messing with you.
Yeah, don't take it to heart. It's just jokes.
But we all have the privilege now in today's world to be able to create whatever the hell we want to create. And that's a beautiful thing for the most part. Most people in the world have that ability. Most people in the world don't use it, but most people have that ability to do so. All right, so let's
Yes. Yes.
Y'all got about 10 minutes.
Oh, that's how you do time your episodes when you're done with your smoke?
Nah. That's part of it, but the other part is I look at that little clock up here.
Okay.
I don't know if y'all can see that little clock.
Yeah. It's been going for a minute.
Once it passed 2 hours, I start winding it down. But I want to finish this cigar.
Yeah.
This is primarily the only room in the house that I'll smoke inside the house because I can vent this room.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're gonna say to make the other the white person feel better. It's been going for 2 minutes, 2 hours.
Hold on, somebody said something about my guy.
CP time.
Neil deGrasse Tyson says about the 3 truths: personal, political, and objective. I enjoy those who are about objective truth. Right. Objective truths are the only truth that I really care about. I mean, everybody has the right to their own political truths and that sort of thing, and their personal truth. But objective truths are backed by facts, and that's what I tend to govern my life by, is by objective truths. Uh, Now, I do have some personal truth and political truths, but even those have to be governed on the foundation of objective truths. The only time the personal truth
Yeah,
and political truth went out is simply when there are no facts to back it up.
yes, I think that's the best way to think.
Yeah. I mean, it's like early when me and my wife was having lunch this morning, well, this afternoon, we was talking about how we was talking about people on welfare. And the objective truth is a lot of that money is being wasted. The process that Bill Clinton put into office, the policy of you got 3 years, you got to be in some type of school program, some type of trade program, or you're getting kicked off. That he put that into practice. It didn't show up until the Bush administration, and then Bush got blamed for it. But then somewhere along the line, either it's not being enforced or it was rescinded, and now people are just on assistance and having a whole bunch of babies to stay on assistance. So somewhere that process got lost. And my personal truth and political truth is that it needs to be reformed. But there is an objectivity of what the facts are about it. I don't care about it being a Democrat started it, a Republican got blamed for it. Doesn't matter. Society-wise, it's harmful for it not to be enforced. It was a good policy. It should be enforced. But that goes through all the things of personal, political truths, but it's supported by an objective truth of what actually just freaking happened. And then, of course, there's the part of it that I don't know what's happening. But I do everything in life like that. I need to know the facts.
Anything else would be programming.
Yeah. If a person just was saying, "Oh no, Bush," I'm like, no, it started with Clinton, but then Bush had it, and somehow it got screwed. It got messed up. It was a good plan that got messed up. Yeah, and that's why what my man said right here. People believe that Haitians were eating they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people who live there.
But also, a lot of this stuff, again, I think majority of belief period is, I'm not going to say majority, because, again, there are some actual facts, whether you actually did the experiment or not, to know that this, come on now, it is what it is. But
what in the hell did you just say? I ain't understand nothing you just said.
Oh, shoot. Let me get away from where I was at. You hear me better now?
Oh, I heard you. I just didn't understand you.
Oh, okay. I got what you're saying. Well, let me start over. Basically, I think a lot of belief is just want. It's just want. You want to believe it. Therefore, you just gonna go with the flow of believing it, whether you think about it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So you just want eliminates the hassle of learning or learning, like you wanting to actually know about this or not. I don't want to actually know about it. I just want to believe it.
Yeah. You want whatever you have been indoctrinated into, and we all have some levels of indoctrinations. We want confirmation of whatever that thing is on a consistent basis. We want to know that what we think we know is the truth. Point blank, period. And we will gravitate towards whatever information that tells us that is the truth.
Yep, because again, I think a lot of the want also comes from, I guess, maybe subconscious fear, because I think we fear understanding what we think we understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we want what we've been conditioned. And then when we
Yes.
get something that's different, there's a fear that jumps up. Let me give you an example. In our pastime, my wife and I likes to watch House Hunters International, only to yell at the scream about people making dumbass statements. You move from one country to another country, but you're trying to get and expect the other country to have what your country had. You just moved to a whole nother damn country. Why are you complaining about the refrigerators in Europe being smaller than the refrigerators in America? Them motherfuckers don't have big refrigerators. They don't live the same way. They live a whole different lifestyle. The go to Japan and you think, oh, I'm only spending $1,500, but I want to be downtown in the middle of everything. And you think you're gonna get some big ass 1,800 square foot house, 1,800 square foot house for $1,500. You're not. You're gonna get a closet. So why you bitching? Right?
Because I want to.
Because I've been conditioned in American lifestyle. That's what I grew up in. That's what I know. And when I go over here to Japan, I want it to be the same as America. When I go to Mexico, I want it to be the same as America. When I go to Europe or any other place, I want it to be the same as America. You're in a different place. So
Yes.
you have to have an open mind to difference, to change, because change is the concept of the universe. So when people are taught and raised to believe that this God is this and heaven and hell and Jesus and all that, when they hear something different in archaeology or something of that nature, they don't want to hear it. When they hear about how the doctrines have changed, they don't want to hear it. They want it to match what they've been conditioned to believe. So
Yep.
we are products of our environment. And it takes a very brave person and courageous person to be willing to go against that and see something different and accept something different and realize that difference could be right. Because we don't live right. Like, we don't live right in America. We got all these processed foods and all this pollution and shit all around us, and the water, everything poisonous. You go somewhere else. You go to Greece, you'll lose 10 pounds just by eating because the food is just better.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I haven't been overseas, but I hear the food is better. And yes,
Yep.
I believe everything over here is fake.
Mm-hmm.
It's like with artificial nutrients.
Exactly. That's why I can't wait to leave. But just like I said, I can't wait to leave. We about to get off here. I see
Yes,
Josie done passed out from that whatever he rolled up.
he done rolled the mushrooms. Rolled the mushrooms. But yes, thank you for having me on. I appreciate this.
So I appreciate you guys coming on. It's always a pleasure to have conversation with people instead of just reading comments and trying to keep up. To have both, and I hope I did a good job of making sure I throw comments up there and responding to people's comments as well. But I appreciate you guys coming on here, even though Josie's asleep right now. But
Thank you.
We will be back on tomorrow. And hey, you can smoke one with me, Randall. I don't know where you at. We can smoke retiree to retiree. Smoke. But I look forward to tomorrow's show. Of course, right now, I have no idea what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Just like I didn't know what we was going to talk about today until about 3 hours beforehand. So we will reconvene tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. Oh, you're in Huntsville, Alabama? That might work out one day. You have to come to Atlanta. But we will continue tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I will see you guys tomorrow. So always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good night.